Hi everyone and welcome to our YouTube channel. This is another Jeremy project video, but it's not only a video. It is a presentation of a country which is so unknown. Now you can sit back, relax on your couches and get to know the Democratic Republic of Congo. The flag you can already see of this huge country right in the middle of the African continent. It is the second largest country around there. You can see this on this map. The red dot is just where we work. This is the city of Bukavu, the 10th largest city in this country. The Democratic Republic of the Congo is, by the Human Development Index, one of the poorest countries in the world. More than 85% of the population lives below the poverty line. But it is also very rich on minerals, on nature, on animals and fruit. You will see this in the presentation. But let's start. Bukavu is the city where my husband Patrick comes from, and it is the bordering city to the country of Rwanda. Just north of Bukavu is a huge lake, which is called the Kibo Lake. On the other side of the Kibo Lake is Goma, another big village. And this Kibo Lake from the distance looks so beautiful, isn't it? It's blue, clear water, you can swim, you can fish. But let's take a little closer look and see how dirty it is. Sadly, it is polluted. People don't take care of it. But out of it come a lot of fruit. This is the fruit of this beautiful lake. It's a very deep lake. Lots of fish, sambasa, tilapia, huge long fishes. The country itself is beautiful. It is a tropical country. Bukavu is just south of the equator, and you see green nature everywhere. It's got two seasons, only rain season and dry season. And even in dry season, around the city, it's very green. You see huge banana trees like here on that picture. A lot of banana types, small and huge and yellow and green. A huge variety of plants, cactus, much taller than yourself. Mountains around the village, around the town of Pocavo. The town itself is around 1,500 meters above sea level, so the air is pretty different than at sea level. And a cool breeze often comes from Kibo Lake. Rich on fruit. On the left upper corner you see pineapple. Did you know that it takes 1 year for the fruit of pineapple to grow? And it takes a lot of space. On the right upper corner you see the jackfruit. It tastes a tiny bit like banana and it's very sticky. The low left corner is the guava or mapera, very delicious. And on the other picture you see huge avocados, which grow everywhere and are so tasty. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, there are huge natural resorts, national parks, 7 of it, and we were able to visit one. Its beauty, its colors of green, its animals, its noises, it's fantastic, and it is worth a visit. Gorillas are in big groups around the area. These are mountain gorillas, and we were able to visit one family. This is Chimanuka. He is the head of family with 25 members. We could come as close as around 2.5 meters. We had to wear these face masks in order to protect the animals of the human germs. Check out this video. Beating their chests is a means of communication of those gorillas, both among themselves but also with us humans. Now let's enter the city. The city of Bukavu is huge. Some people say it's up to 2 million inhabitants because people have to leave the countryside because of rebellion, of war. And so they try to find at least a tiny spot in the city to live in. The streets are disastrous. And when it comes to rain, the street looks like on this video. You can find kind of everything on this road. The motorcycles, people, sometimes animals, cars, water. People are working, are walking. There is even fruit markets right next to the street.
Oh my goodness.
Slippery. They even slide down.
Oh shit. We need stones.
And now let me take you into the traffic. Imagine you sit in a car. There are not many regulations. Right before left, yes, but there are hardly any traffic lights. And sometimes imagine it's raining hard, it's a thunderstorm, and millions of cars.
Look at how I drive the car.
It can even take up to 5, 6, 10, 20 minutes at one corner, and you just can't move.
Yeah. Okay.
That was almost a car crash, but people don't worry. And there it is, the traffic light. Made in DRC, even made by a woman. They are proud of it. But when you look at it, are you supposed to go right, left, straight, around it? Sometimes you get there, all of the lights are on, or none of the lights are on. You don't really know. But it is good, at least one traffic light. Let's go into dry season. It is very dusty. Dust enters everywhere.
4 months of
And
that.
imagine 4 months of this, maybe even more. But people still start their campfire. It's not just a campfire to grill your barbecue, no. It is to burn your rubbish because there is no functioning rubbish truck system. But there are dry trees around, there's electricity, and not often you can see something like that. It's horrible. There is no fire department, and if there would be, there are hardly streets to reach this slum area. People have to carry water from far away. Often they don't have running water in their houses. This is a well in a poor area. Kids, many people come here and carry water home. But often the water is also polluted because the sewage water of all those huts around runs into the same system underground. So people have to cook the water first, boil the water first, do everything fast in order to prevent infection, which sometimes they can't do. This is also a very nice example of hygiene. In the very back, the house is a restaurant. Then comes a huge truck, a huge pile of rubbish, We are standing on a road, and in front of us is a little market where you can buy the fruit and the vegetable. People in DRC are very diligent. I hardly saw any beggars on the street. People are so hard working. You see fisher boats, many guys, even kids, go out into this huge lake in order to work for their living. They fish the whole night, and then the next day their women or sisters carry the fishes from the harbor up into the city and they sell it. But they have to sell the amount of fish on one day because they don't have a fridge. Mainly women are working on the fields. They are plowing, they are sowing, they are harvesting, they do everything by hand. One good thing in Bukavu is you can do window shopping very easily. Every day you just buy all your vegetables through the window of your car. This is hardworking men. We watched that mainly men were carrying all these loads on their heads, like the people here, even a couch in the back of the right picture. Women are carrying the loads on the back of their backs. I don't know exactly why, but that's just fact. Even kids carry everything on their backs or on their heads. They are pros in loading trucks. And on the load, on the cargo, people will sit and travel with the truck to the next village or to the next town. Look at all the mattresses on one little car. They try to repair the city. Because the streets are so bumpy, with a lot of holes, it's problematic to drive in the city. I've hardly ever seen a machine like this. So they try to still repair their streets with this, but see how dangerous it is. Just above this heavy machine is electricity. But every now and then, one street more is repaired and it looks quite nice. I don't know how long it lasts because often through the rain and the crazy heat of the sun, the concrete breaks again. But we're happy to have another nice road in this huge city. This river in the back of the picture is the Rusisie River. It is the border to Rwanda. So on the other side you see Rwanda, on our side is Bukavu. And by law it is actually not allowed to build houses. The Rwandans don't have to build houses there. But Bukavu just is so huge and so many people have to live in this city that they use every single spot to build their huts. It is pretty dangerous, as you see on this picture. One avalanche and all the houses are gone. This is another place where the rich people live. They afford some land and then they build high up houses. And they rent every story so that they, with the money of the rent, can then build the next story. I told you that the country is rich of minerals, of nature, of animals, of fruit, of character, but also of kids. Everywhere you go, you see beautiful faces of the Congolese kids. And the kids sadly don't have the opportunities that we have. For example, they don't have a playground. There's only one and they need to pay entry fee. So who of the poor population can afford this? But they make their own playground on a quiet street or at the entry of a university. And they create their own games.
Et toi? Toi aussi? Ah.
They also create their own soccer balls because they don't have nice soccer balls. They can't buy them, so they take plastics and they take strings and they create their own balls. Kids are very creative in this country. But now let's go away from the country itself into some details of how people live, what are the chances and the challenges in this huge country. This is a comparison. In DRC, the lifespan is way shorter than in Germany. So let's put it in numbers. Around 23 years shorter is a lifespan of a Congolese person. Around 25 times more kids die at delivery. One doctor is in charge of 10,000 people. Compared to Germany, one doctor is in charge of 285 patients. And one big problem in DRC is rape. Rape is used as a weapon for war. This is another chart where you see high up on the chart is Germany, the orange line, and the blue line very low down is Congo. The medical possibilities are very low. 100 students finish their exams, but only 3 get a paid job. This is us in the operation hall. I was working twice in DRC. I was visiting another time. And we were working in the surgery department, doing normal abdominal surgeries, some others also at feet or extremities. But mainly you work in obstetrics and gynecology. We are working to fight against traditional medicine. Many people don't have the chance to go into the hospitals and to pay for the fees. That's why they first go to their traditional medical personnel, because they think this is the tradition, this is what I know from the past, and they try it. So here on this picture, you see a tiny newborn baby with something black on the top of his head. And this is spices or some kind of plants, which the people rub on the top of the head when, for example, the baby is in fever. This often results in sepsis, in a huge infection of the body, and often it leads to death. Traditional medicine also, you can see in this little girl. She was coughing badly, probably suffering a pneumonia. So the people thought, you cut the skin, you rub spices into it on the side of the thorax where the breathing is strong, more difficult than on the other. They rub spices into it, but it didn't get better. We also fight against violence. This girl was at the wrong time, at the wrong place, and she was attacked with a knife. All her intestines came out, and she almost died, if not a doctor would have operated her at the right time. We fight against malnutrition. I guess you know these pictures. Very, very slim extremities, huge bellies. This is called marasmus. Or kwashiorkor is another type of malnutrition. These babies look really big, but it's only water in the skin underneath. It's an edema because they have a huge lack of proteins. Measles is another topic rising at the moment in DRC. People do get vaccines, but the problem is that out in the villages, they are hard to reach. Even in the nature parks or wherever they live, it's hard to reach them to vaccine them. And this little boy came with belly pain. Me, as a German doctor, you first think of appendicitis or of obstipation or something else, maybe a hernia, but I actually didn't know that there are worms. So the next day after a treatment, the baby or the child was spitting out some worms. I had to learn a lot working in this country. Typhoid fever is another problem. It is also caused by a lack of hygiene. But I wondered myself when I was living there. There is a lack of water, and then you have to decide, what am I using the water for? To clean my face, to brush my teeth, or to cook, to wash my hair, or to clean the floor? You have to decide, because you only have a limited amount of water. There's no water running out of the system. typhoid fever could be prevented by more hygiene. And I was wondering also, why do people live in this hospital? Why don't they leave? You see, they wash their clothes, they cook, there's no cafeteria. Why do the kids, which are already healthy, stay in the hospital? And my first experience was Jeremy. We operated him. He had a belly problem, and then afterwards he was healed again. But even when I left Congo, he was still in the hospital. And I stayed in contact with Patrick, and I asked him, why is he still in the hospital? He needs to go back to school. But the problem is there is no insurance, no health insurance. And parents who often earn less than $1 a day, they cannot afford a hospital cost of $400 or even $40 of malaria. Some parents cannot pay. So they have to stay in the hospital until somebody pays their bill. Jeremy almost missed out on school because if the span you're missing is more than 3 months, the school doesn't allow you back because you have a lack of knowledge. So the fees the parents paid for school is lost as well. What we did was to start a sponsorship program for kids, for underprivileged kids. Because I learned from John F. Kennedy, there's only one thing in the long run which is more expensive than education. No education. So through German sponsored, we could make it possible to pay the fee of Jeremy so that he could return back to school and, of course, beforehand leave the hospital. Out of this experience, we founded the Jeremieprojectcongo. We want to facilitate education, we want to give hope, and we want to build a future. So what I already told you, it is a medical outreach, humanitarian work. We're teaching, we're giving donations, and we pay the hospital bills. This is us. Patrick Rusisie, he's Congolese, and me, Tabea Rusisie, I am German, and we both started this project. We started to teach people ultrasound, to check ourselves in obstetrics. We work together and with others in the surgery department, sometimes even without any electricity. This operation is with a flashlight because, again, the electricity was cut. We could also give donations in form of these coveralls to the hospital. It was a great joy to have finally good clothes. The second pillar is the sponsoring of the kids. We visited schools so that we know in what condition they study. This is a tiny room, but more than 50 kids study in this room, 4 up to 5 kids on one of those tables. And the schools are in a bad condition. Most of them are not supported by the government, and through that, they're broken. They don't even have chalks often. This is an overcrowded class. We also got to visit Jeremy. What a big joy to see him being in secondary school already. When we were there last year, September, in 2018, we gathered all our sponsored kids and their families to explain what Jeremy Project is about. Because it is not about just giving and giving, but it is also about teaching them so that in the future they can help themselves. We took pictures for the sponsors here in Germany. We could give them material which they needed for schools, rubbers, pencils, pens, and also uniforms. In one sponsoring, the kid gets the education, but also the school fee, the uniform, and the costs to apply. The primary schools costs around €170 per year, and the secondary school 250 per year. And it's a great joy to see how it works. And some of those parents ask, what are we going to do if nobody gives us money anymore? Could be that those donations stop. Out of this sentence, we got the idea to start a school, an educational center starting with a sewing school. So we rented a house since we didn't have our own land yet. This is the little house with only 2 tiny rooms inside. We could afford 5 sewing machines and we started to set everything up. First of all, we had to exchange the roof because there is no electricity. So they put see-through plastic on the roof so that we have the sunlight shining into this dark room. We set up those mechanical machines because, as I said, there is no electricity. And we gathered 10 women. Most of them are mothers of kids in our project so that they can get an education. And it was beautiful to see how eager they were to study. Most of them have maybe passed primary school but never finished the 6 years. And 2 of them couldn't even write their names. They have never attended school. These are the women which I wanted to reach, to give them an education with which they can support their own family. They can even craft or sew the school uniforms for their kids, and they can sell things on the street in front of their houses so that later they don't need any support anymore. Without the electricity, you can't iron like we know from home. You need very hot clothes, but as you see, it worked out. The people are so thankful and happy. Now they can earn more than $1 per day. After around 3 months into the course, we could afford through donations another 5 machines so that now each lady could work on her own sewing machine. We also started a sponsoring of the women. So 6-month education costs around €350, which is the cost for the education and 1 sewing machine, which is a startup package so that they can immediately start after their school. Jeremieprojectcongo grew and it will grow. We want to start a larger educational center, not only sewing school, but also IT, electricity, electronics. We would like to start with a school, and that's why we needed to found an association in DRC, and we call it Jenga Tumaini, which is in English, building hope. And with this association, we're now able to even employ people. So first of all, we bought land. Just a bit outside of Bukavu, near the village of Kashusha, we bought around 11 square meters of land, which we couldn't yet use for building houses because, of course, everything depends on donations. But we started with an engineer of agronomy to plant corn and beans. And what a joy it was to harvest 180 kgs of beans, which could be already spread. First of all, during the Corona crisis, it could be spread to people who don't have any food anymore, but it could also be sold. This is an idea of a primary and secondary school we would like to build, to put on this land and to give education for the very poor people around in Kashusha. That is an example of a basketball field we would like to build. I already told you that there are no playgrounds. How great would it be to start a recreation for youth, for them to invite them to play? This is an idea for the educational center. We would like to start with it this year. So this is an overview of what the future may bring for Jeremieprojectcongo. And now a summary of what could already have been achieved. We could pay the hospital costs for about 25 patients so they could leave the hospital. This is an example of some of those kids and parents. 10 women could already start and finish the course, get their own machine, go home, and all in all, it's around 100 people who profit each half a year, so 200 people each year. And 85 kids have already found a sponsor. We are very thankful to see these results, and we encourage you to be connected. Become a sponsor of a child or a sponsor for a lady who wants to learn how to sew, or invest in the Congo. Help us to build a school, educational center, hospital at the end. The kids say thank you and also goodbye. Jeremieprojectcongo.com is our website. Subscribe just now on this YouTube channel and like us on Instagram. You find us on Jeremy Project Congo. And we're happy that you watched this video. Thank you.